Chapter 31 Kill. Please read and test the waters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fifth Elder, what's the deal here? Ming asked, bracing himself against the sudden pressure, his inner power surging. Humph. The Fifth Elder scoffed, totally ignoring him. He strode directly to the head seat in the reception room, unleashing even more of his power, waves of pressure slamming outwards as if physically present. This intensified pressure shattered Ming's defenses, bearing down on him as if intending to crush him flat. Ming coughed, a metallic taste filling his mouth as a mouthful of blood spurted out. He struggled to stay upright, his feet trembling, bloodshot eyes locked on the Fifth Elder. So, this is how it's gonna be, huh, old man? He could feel the Fifth Elder's barely concealed hostility, the desire to force him to his knees. His inner power churned, a swarm of venomous insects desperate to erupt and resist. But Ming fought to control them, his gaze unwavering on the Fifth Elder. Attacking an elder in the sect was a capital offense, punishable by immediate death. And he wasn't strong enough yet to take on a title Douluo. Damn it, you old coot, I'll remember this. If I get out of this alive, you're gonna regret it. Ming's insides roiled, but he forced a smile, resisting the crushing pressure. Fifth Elder, I'm not sure how I've offended you. Please, tell me what I've done wrong. His smile remained plastered on his face, even as his legs shook and cold sweat poured down him. He stood tall. The Fifth Elder abruptly cut off his power, dismissing Ming's words as if they were nothing. He lounged in his seat, acting like nothing had happened, and chuckled. Kid, hand it over. You should be happy with what you've got. Hand what over? Ming frowned, his mind racing. What could a title Douluo want? Soul bones? The 1,000-year holy soul liquid? Ming discreetly wiped the blood from his mouth, clasping his hands. Fifth Elder, the sect master gave me the soul bone, and I've already integrated it. And I've absorbed all the 1,000-year holy soul fluid. I can't just take it back out. I doubt that would satisfy you anyway. The Fifth Elder's face twisted, his hand flashing out to strike Ming. A massive force slammed him against the pillar in the corner with a sickening thud. Are you trying to play me? You think I'm after that stuff? Everyone knows about that stuff. Tang Xiao knows. If I took it, I'd be in trouble. He snorted, eyes narrowed at Ming. Before you turned 17, you were a nobody, a level 9 soul warrior. Then, suddenly, you shot to the top. You think I don't know how you did it? He pulled out a pigeon egg-sized jade stone, glowing green with soul power, from his pocket, tossed it in the air, and sneered. This thing's pretty good. Not only does it boost soul power, but it also enhances your physical strength. You know where the jade mine is, right? Tell me. Otherwise, I can't promise you'll walk out of here alive. Ming leaned against the pillar, clutching his chest, focusing his inner energy to heal. Seeing the jade stone in the Fifth Elder's hand, realization dawned. Tang Xiaolong's half of the jade stone. It all makes sense now. So, it was you, stabbing me in the back. Ming cursed silently. You old geezer, you won't get away with this. A look of understanding spread across Ming's face. He clutched his chest and grinned. Fifth Elder, so that's what you're after. Yeah, I found a jade deposit in the mine. It's how I got where I am today. If you wanted it, you should have just said so. Why all this drama? Huh? The Fifth Elder frowned and unleashed another blast, slamming Ming into a pillar. Are you trying to tell me how to do my job? Hand over the mine, and I'll let you live. Screw you. Ming struggled to his feet, barely resisting the urge to unleash his venomous insects, but he realized that the Fifth Elder had created a barrier, sealing off the entire White Tiger Hall. Even if I scream my head off, no one will hear me. Tang Xiao is in seclusion, the other elders are out, and this old man is off the rails. I can't win. Ming coughed, took a deep breath, and smiled. Elder, I wouldn't just carry a treasure like that around. I hid it in the mine. It's getting late. How about I get it for you tomorrow? After all, sneaking out of the sect at night would attract unwanted attention. Yi Ming's word struck a chord with the fifth elder. He might be hot-headed, but he wasn't stupid. If he can get his hands on such treasure privately, why would he want to share it? That's his plan, right? To keep it all for himself, and Yi Ming running away, he's just a great soul master. He can't even fly. He can't escape, You're right. Tomorrow, come find me, and I'll go with you. The fifth elder had expected that after beating Yi Ming today, the other party would be cowed into submission by his title Douluo strength and would tremble and dare not resist. He hadn't considered imprisoning Yi Ming. After all, Yi Ming had only just arrived and was under the scrutiny of other disciples. Hearing the fifth elder's offer, Yi Ming stood up shakily, bowing low. Of course, elder. I'll do exactly as you say and take you there tomorrow. He limped out of the White Tiger Hall. Once out of the fifth elder's courtyard, Yi Ming's limp vanished, his eyes burning with fury. He didn't say a word until he reached his own courtyard. Night fell, only a sliver of crescent moon lighting the sky, casting the sect in shadow. After regaining his composure, Yi Ming got up and moved the moon orchids planted in his courtyard into the system space. He glared toward the White Tiger Hall and sneered. I had plans for the Haotian sect, schemes to slowly bleed you dry and increase my power. But now, I think those plans are pointless. Because I want to kill some people. Yi Ming whispered softly, heaven nourishes all things from man, and man has nothing from heaven. Kill. 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 Leaving his courtyard, Yi Ming vanished into the darkness, using the shadow follower Gu to slip past the patrols and reach the inner disciple courtyard. He remembered that Tang Xiaolong had been promoted to inner disciple and lived in this courtyard after winning the outer disciple tournament, becoming one with the shadows. Yi Ming entered the courtyard silently. Tonight, I think I'll collect a little interest. Chapter 32, Moonblade Dance. Please read on and stay at the end. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Xiaolong was stoked. Decked out in his black inner disciple uniform, he checked himself out in the mirror. Even though he'd been wearing it for days, the thrill hadn't worn off. For 20 years, he'd been stuck in that dead-end village, coasting on being the village chief's son, skimming resources from low-level disciples, and blowing off steam at the local brothel. But ever since he got his hands on that jade, his life had been a total 180. He'd crushed the outer disciple competition, snagging 2 drops of the 1,000-year holy soul liquid. Boom! He'd leveled up to soul master and earned himself a spot as an inner disciple. Now, he'd played his cards right, spilling the beans to the fifth elder and latching onto him like a leech. His future in the sect was gonna be smooth sailing. And he owed it all to Tang Yeming. He chuckled, Tang Yeming, don't take it personal. Once I'm running the show, you can be my gopher. Suddenly, a shadow flickered under a pillar in the room, and Yi Ming's voice, cold and hard, cut through the air. Sorry to burst your bubble, but that ain't happening. Tang Xiaolong jumped and spun around, summoning his Haotian hammer martial spirit. 3 soul rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, blazed around him, but all he saw was a dark blue moon blade, about the size of his palms, whistling silently toward him. Everything went hazy, and his last sight was a headless corpse in a black disciple uniform toppling backward. Without wasting a breath, Yi Ming summoned the blood skull poison and drained Tang Xiaolong dry. These days, there weren't many disciples left in the Haotian sect, so everyone got their own little courtyard, perfect for Yi Ming. No need to worry about making noise and getting caught. After sucking Tang Xiaolong dry, he shoved the flattened corpse into the system space and booked it to the next inner sect disciple's place. He'd been in the sect long enough to know exactly which disciples were in the fifth elder's pocket. His true energy was limited, and maxing out the 3rd-level poisonous insect was a major drain. No way he could take out every disciple in the sect without someone catching on, so, he was starting with the fifth elder's crew. Consider it payback. Next up, Tang Tian, the Soul King who'd tangled with Yi Ming last time, and the fifth elder's grandson. Ming snuck past the sentries, no problem, and landed in Tang Tian's courtyard. He knocked, and Tang Tian opened the door, looking puzzled. Spotting Ming, he scratched his nose and asked, Ming, what brings you here? Come on in. Brother Tian, I need your ear for a sec. Mind if we talk inside? Ming played along, and when Tang Tian turned his back, closing the door without a hint of suspicion, the moon blade materialized in his hand and plunged straight into Tang Tian's heart. Take a deep breath. Feeling woozy is normal. Ming quickly called up the bleeding skull goo, sucked up another load of blood, and stashed it in the system space. Then came Tang Qi, Tang Yifei, Tang Qiu Shui. That night, the moon blade danced in the shadows, painting the dark corners with crimson. After wiping out over 30 disciples loyal to the fifth elder, Ming called it quits. Just then, the long-lost system chime rang out, ding. Refining Dao Venerable's roll reached 35%. Reward, 10,000 yuanshi, a third-turn Shunfanger goo, and a fourth-turn consumable goo insect, the footless bird. Ming grinned. The footless bird was clutch. The footless bird, the ultimate ride for anyone below level 5, capable of covering thousands of miles a day. Lights were starting to flicker on the mountainside. Dawn was closing in. After a massacre like this, the fifth elder was bound to suspect him. He couldn't stick around the Haotian sect. Time to bolt. Ming left the other disciples alone, opting to set the kerosene he'd poured in the rooms ablaze. Boom! Boom! Flames erupted, spreading like wildfire in the night wind, quickly engulfing everything. Fire! Fire! Put it out! Disciples scrambled, rushing to douse the flames. Meanwhile, Ming was already scrambling toward the iron rope hanging off the edge of the mountain. With all the disciples fighting the fire, no one was guarding the exits. He was about to grab the rope and zip across when he saw a figure hurtling toward him in the distance. And a massive hammer was already hurtling his way. Don't you dare run, you thief! I'll have your head for what you did to my grandson. The fifth elder was seeing red, ready to tear someone apart. He'd been hoping to sneak a word with his grandson Tang Tian about the succession, but he'd stumbled upon a scene bathed in blood. Instantly, his mind flashed to Tang Yiming, the punk he'd humiliated earlier. As the fifth elder was searching for clues, the fire broke out, and he caught Tang Yiming trying to escape. The guy was clearly guilty as hell. Seeing the giant hammer barreling toward him, Ming knew he couldn't risk the rope. It was a sitting duck move. Jade shimmered across his skin, and the moon-colored ribbons swirled around him. Seizing his last chance, he dove headfirst into the ravine. Boom! The giant hammer slammed into the cliff, obliterating it. The shockwave rattled Ming, shredding his moon ribbon, but the white jade goo's defense held strong. The fifth elder swooped in, peering down, his eyes wide with disbelief. The kid would rather die than give himself up. Jumping like that is suicide. Arg! The thought of his grandson's fate sent him into a blind rage, but then, he caught a glimpse of white down below. No way! He gasped. Ming was stepping onto a giant bone bird, soaring away. A legless bird. This bird was all bones, with an eagle's head, a crane's body, and a swallow's tail. It had 2 sets of wings, but no legs to speak of. A fourth-turn consumable goo insect, born to fly, doomed to die the moment it lands. Stunned, the fifth elder snapped out of it and surged forward, channeling every ounce of soul power into pursuit. He punched through the clouds, only to realize he couldn't close the gap. The bone bird was lightning fast, and he'd missed his chance. He was too late. Stop right there, you scumbag! The fifth elder roared, his clear sky hammer swelling in size, then hurled it at Ming, but the clear sky hammer was now beyond his control, and its power began to wane. As it raced toward the fleeing Ming, the moon blade carved it into pieces. Ha 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 ha! Perched on the legless bird, Ming gazed back at the fifth elder, hot on his heels, and let out a roaring laugh. Old man, when you were bullying and belittling me, did you ever imagine this day would come? I gladly accept the lives of your grandson and the 30+ disciples under your thumb. And that's just for starters. Next time we cross paths, I'll personally carve your head off and repay today's humiliation. The fifth elder's eyes were bloodshot, his fists clenched to the point of shattering, his teeth grinding. No way. He's not getting away. He roared at the sky, his soul power surged, and his speed ticked up again. Ming had already pushed the legless bird to its limit, blasting across the ravine and into the open sky. He looked into the distance and howled. Ha 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 ha. Fly, footless bird, fly high. He was leaving the Hautian sect behind, ready to shake things up. The groundwork had been laid, no more need to hide, kill when you gotta kill, no holding back. Chapter 33 Ghost, Moon Pass. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ha ha ha. Go on, footless wonder. Fly. No sooner than he yelled it, the footless bird screeched and took off with a whoosh, like it was answering him. Right then, the sun blasted over the mountaintops, sending down beams of golden light. Ming soared into the sky on the back of the bird, sunlight bathing him like he was wearing a golden robe. The sky was a deep blue, with clouds like an ocean beneath them. The view was picture perfect, the kid was airborne. The only thing spoiling the scene was the five elders chasing after him, spewing curses. High above them, Ming's head was clear. This felt a lot like when Gu Fangyuan escaped from Whitebone Mountain. The system chimed in his head again, ding. Refining Dao Master Roll Progress, 40%. Rewards, 1 Soul Tempering at Danghun Mountain, 1 Spiritual Spring Initiation, 50,000 Yuanshi, 1/3 turn Baoyue Gu, and 1/3 turn Fengjiulan Gu. Accept. Since the footless bird was a 4th turn Gu worm, and he could barely control it with the Tianyuan Baoyan, Ming had no plans to accept more rewards. He glanced at the list, tapped no for now, and focused on controlling the bird. Down below, the fifth elder was still dogging him. The guy was spitting venom, but it wasn't slowing Ming down. Ignoring the curses, Ming pushed the bird even faster, laughing. Ha ha ha. Hey, Grandpa, you got no lungs or what? Those curses are weak. Is your grandson dead, and you're in a hurry to join him? The fifth elder was beyond mad, swinging the clear sky hammer like crazy, but couldn't get near Ming. Even burning through his soul power, he couldn't close the distance. Zhao. You little punk, you're gonna regret this. His eyes were bloodshot, heart pounding from Ming's words. What is that bird thing? How's it faster than a tidal Douluo like me? Even as they shot past the last ravine, the fifth elder was still no closer. He'd barely broken free of the ravine himself when the kid took to the skies. He was furious, and worried sick. If the sect found out about this, he was done for. Tang Yeming had been a star at the disciple competition, all Tang Zhao's focus. And he tried to force the genius to murder and ditch the sect. The kid was in the wrong, but he wasn't innocent either. If he could catch and kill Ming, he could salvage his reputation, but if he let him get away, it would be a disaster. The fifth elder steeled his resolve. He had to catch up and shut him down. He'd realized the bird wasn't alive, but some kind of puppet, a soul-guided thing, that had to suck up soul power. I don't care how much soul power you have. When you run out, you're dead. He slowed down a bit, not trying to overtake Ming, just sticking to him until he ran dry. Meanwhile, where the first and second peaks of the Hautian sect met, 2 figures were hiding in the clouds, Yu Guan and Gue Mei, sent by Bibi Dong to scout the Hautian sect. Gue Mei's martial spirit was good at hiding. Even though Ming and the fifth elder had just flown right past them, they hadn't noticed them. Once they were gone, Yu Guan whispered to Gue Mei, "Old Ghost, what now?" Back to the spirit hall. Gue Mei dropped a curtain of darkness over them again, replying, "We go out now, we'll run into that hot-tempered Douluo, right? We're stuck in the middle here. I say we wait for him to come back and ambush him. If we can take out a tidal Douluo, that's a big win. Even if we just hurt him, it weakens the Hautian sect. That way, they'll be too busy to mess with Her Majesty the Pope's plans." Yu Guan thought about it. Gue Mei had a point. They'd sneaked into the Hautian sect last night, figuring they'd find out what they needed and get out. But then they'd stumbled into this internal squabble. if he didn't grab this chance to hit the Haotian sect hard, he'd feel like he missed out. He tapped his chin with his fingers, saying in his sharp voice, "Old ghost, I think you're right, but maybe we should catch up to the lonely Douluo. 2-on-1, we got the edge. That way, we don't have to worry about the other title Douluos coming after us, plus the interesting kid gets away, my enemy's enemy is my friend, maybe we can use him later." Guei agreed, and they were on the same page. Seeing their chance in the Haotian sect's mess, they burst out of the ravine and chased after the fifth elder. By now, Ming was out of the mountains, heading southwest for the Star Do forest. The fifth elder was a speck in the distance, up on his bird. He was doing some planning. Soon, the Spirit Hall would be launching its soul hunting campaign, and Yuguan and Guei would be taking Hulaina to the Star Do forest to hunt Xiao Wu. Now that he'd left the Haotian sect, he felt like checking it out. If an opportunity showed up, he'd naturally get in on it, but first, he needed a safe place to cash in this prize and build up his strength. Just then, a massive wave of soul power blew out behind him, followed by the fifth elder's startled yell. "People from the Spirit Hall. How dare you?" Ming was surprised. He looked back to see a bright chrysanthemum exploding in the sky, petals scattering towards the black spot that was the fifth elder. He thought he heard someone say, "Ninth soul skill, chrysanthemums shatter, ground stained, flowers fall, heart breaks." Ju Douluo. Ming's eyes lit up. Ju and Ghost Douluo were thick as thieves. If Ju Douluo was taking on the fifth elder, Ghost Douluo had to be close by. Together, they had a killer martial soul fusion skill, unbeatable. If those two ganged up on him, the fifth elder was in deep trouble. He figured if no one from the sect showed up to help, Ju and Guei might just finish him off, but a fight between title Douluos was way beyond him right now. Even the stray shots would be enough to take him out. He wanted to see the fifth elder get trashed, but if the Haotian sect elders showed up, he'd be stuck. After a moment, Ming headed straight for the Star Do forest. "Hang in there, old man. At least live long enough for me to kill you myself. Can't let that blood go to waste." Chapter 34 The Miserable Fifth Elder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 100 miles from Haotian sect's peak, high in the sky, the fifth elder clutched his chest with his left hand, his right hand gripping the Haotian hammer. He warily eyed Yuguan and Guei. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. He was shocked and scared. He hadn't expected an ambush by two title Douluo from the Spirit Hall. He'd been so focused on chasing Ming that he hadn't noticed his surroundings. Then, out of nowhere, Yuguan and Guei had blindsided him. If he hadn't reacted in the nick of time, he'd be a goner. The thought that Tang Ming was responsible for his injuries only fueled his resentment. Truth was, the Haotian sect's years of isolation had made him complacent. Being so close to home, he'd let his guard down, making him an easy target. Suppressing his inner turmoil, the fifth elder sneered at Yuguan and Guei. "Chrysanthemum Douluo, Ghost Douluo, you're on Haotian sect territory. Leave now, or you won't leave at all. You think a pansy and a spook can take me down?" His words ignited Yuguan and Guei's fury. They knew the fifth elder had a point. They were close to Haotian sect, and title Douluo could arrive in no time, but his insult struck a nerve. 5 years ago, when Tang Hao had spoken like that, they'd feared he'd destroy the Spirit Hall. And he had rescued that 100,000-year soul beast. But now, this wounded title Douluo dared to talk trash. He had another thing coming. A pansy? A spook? Yuguan's poise vanished, replaced by a ferocious scowl. "Old ghost, light him up." His ninth black soul ring blazed to life. Ninth soul skill. Chrysanthemums wither, the ground bleeds, flowers fall, and hearts break. The ghost cackled, his ninth black soul ring erupting with blinding light. Ninth soul skill, Hellspawn. Black and gold filled the sky as chrysanthemums and ghosts intertwined, lunging towards the fifth elder. He felt like he'd swallowed something awful. Wasn't he making a valid point? Besides, hadn't they already used their ninth soul skills in their sneak attack? Now this? Where was the fairness in that? Seeing the attack, the Haotian hammer in his hands ballooned to the size of a mountain. "Grand Sumera hammer," he roared, gripping the hammer with both hands, and slammed it into the onslaught of golden chrysanthemums and ghosts. Bang bang bang, the sky exploded, the shockwave ripping through the clouds for miles. Nearby mountain peaks shattered from the force. As the dust settled, the fifth elder coughed up a mouthful of blood, laced with fragments. He staggered back, his body trembling. Yu Guan and Gui Mei's initial attack, and the 2 ninth soul skills he'd blocked, had already left him badly wounded. Now, using the Grand Sumera hammer to counter their attack had shattered his insides. Only his title Douluo status kept him alive. He glared at Yu Guan and Gui Mei, who were merely winded. This brawl was bound to have alerted the sect elders. If he could just hold out, rescue would come, but at this rate, he wouldn't live long enough. This ends now, whatever it takes, he seethed. If it weren't for Tang Yiming, he wouldn't be in this mess. After this, I'll catch Tang Yiming and flay him alive. Eyes locked on Yu Guan and Gui Mei, who were gearing up for another assault. The fifth elder felt his soul power surge. All 9 of his soul rings pulsed simultaneously. The clear sky hammer, which had shrunk, grew massive again. Hack! He spat blood. Ignoring it, he roared, and his first 100-year soul ring, glowing yellow, detonated with a crack. Not enough. In an instant, the remaining 8 soul rings blew as well, releasing a terrifying force that merged into the clear sky hammer. The mountain-sized clear sky hammer was now charged with unimaginable power, threatening to shatter the sky itself. Grand Sumera hammer, 9 rings detonation. The fifth elder's face turned crimson as he swung the clear sky hammer with everything he had, smashing it towards Yu Guan and Gui Mei. Even before the hammer struck, space seemed to buckle, making cracking sounds, yet Yu Guan and Gui Mei remained calm. Yu Guan had seen this move before. When the fifth elder sacrificed his first soul ring, he darted towards Gui Mei. Decades of partnership had forged a perfect understanding between them. Their auras merged, activating their martial soul fusion technique. 2 aspects stillness field. Buzz. A strange wave washed over the fifth elder, freezing him mid-swing. His face twisted in horror. Seriously? Were they kidding him? All his strength channeled into the clear sky hammer, yet he couldn't swing it. It was like popping a Viagra and loading a bullet, only to find the brothel was closed for business. Yu Guan and Gui Mei's martial soul fusion skill had paralyzed him, but the clear sky hammer continued to drain his soul power and the power of his soul rings. Fortunately, Yu Guan and Gui Mei had to maintain the field, leaving them unable to use soul skills. Any soul skill right now would be fatal. The situation hung in the balance. The fifth elder felt the backlash from the clear sky hammer's dissipating power, and panic set in. Yu Guan and Gui Mei were just as anxious. They could feel several figures speeding from the Haotian sect, heading their way. Any more time, and they'd be trapped. Old Yu, fall back. Gui Mei withdrew his hand, a dark cloud engulfing his body. He grabbed Yu Guan and bolted. Yu Guan glanced back, seeing the fifth elder spitting blood and several figures appearing on distant mountain peaks. Gritting his teeth, he launched a chrysanthemum blade at the fifth elder before fleeing the battlefield with Gui Mei. The fifth elder was too weak to defend. He squeezed out the last of his strength, twisting his body to change the trajectory. Instead of piercing his chest, the chrysanthemum blade sliced off his left arm. He closed his eyes, finally succumbing to exhaustion, and plummeted, but at the last second, Tang Xiao appeared, catching him with a dark look. Spirit Hall. Chrysanthemum Pass. Gui Mei. You'll pay for this. Chapter 35, Receive Rewards. Further improvement in strength. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a frantic rescue, Tang Xiao finally managed to pull the fifth elder back from death's door. Tang Xiao frowned, looking at the fifth elder, who lay weakly on the bed. What happened, elder? He asked. Were Tang Tian and Tang Yeming's disciples killed by those spirit hall people? Cough, cough, cough. The fifth elder coughed, his mind racing. Everyone who knew the truth was dead, except Tang Yeming. If he told the truth, even as an elder, he'd be punished, but if he blamed it on Spirit Hall and secretly dealt with Tang Yeming, he could bury the whole thing. Yes. It was Yu Guan and Gui Mei. The fifth elder said weakly. They snuck into the sect, killed the disciples, and tried to escape. I had to chase after them before I could warn anyone. Even using our forbidden techniques and the great Sumera hammer secrets wasn't enough to stop them. He looked at Tang Xiao, guilt-ridden. Sect Master, I'm sorry. Tang Xiao raised his hand to stop him. It's done. I'll personally get revenge on Spirit Hall. The great Sumera hammer is too much for anyone without incredible strength and talent. That's why everyone thinks only the clear sky Douluo in each generation can use it. You're suffering from the backlash. Just rest and recover, Tang Xiao sighed. The Clear Sky sect was really in trouble. The Star Do forest was huge, almost the size of the Balik Kingdom, spanning the Heaven Do Empire and the Star Luo Empire. 2/5 of it was in the Heaven Do Empire, and 3/5 in the Star Luo Empire. The terrain was complex, with wetlands and swamps. Based on the spirit beast population, the Star Do forest was divided into 5 zones: the edge, the outer circle, the mixed circle, the core circle, and the place of great evil. The closer you got to the center, the stronger the spirit beasts. In a grassy patch covered with blue-silver grass in the outer circle, 200-year-old soft-bone rabbits were doing what rabbits do. Whoosh! Something zipped through the sky, and a big white-boned bird crashed into the blue-silver grass, kicking up dust. Ming stepped out of the dust, looked at the 2 yellow, century-old spirit rings floating on the ground, and silently apologized. The legless bird, a one-time use of goo insects, was wrecked beyond repair. Kicking the dead rabbits out of the way, Ming headed toward the center of the forest, getting his bearings. He was already level 30 and could become a supreme soul lord by hunting a spirit beast, but finding a place to claim his rewards was the priority. Improving his goo master skills was the right move. He soon found a hidden cave that was already occupied by a windwalking tiger, just broken through to the 1000-year level. Ming quickly took it out with a moon blade and claimed the cave. This windwalking tiger packs a punch around here. Its aura should keep other spirit beasts away for a while, Ming thought. The Star Do forest was huge, and few spirit masters came this way, so he should be safe for a bit. After he rolled a huge stone to block the entrance, he went inside and summoned the blood skull goo, which had absorbed the blood of 37 disciples. The blood skull goo flew above his head, opened its mouth, and a stream of fragrant blood flowed out, merging into his head. Ming was now a second-level intermediate goo master with 70% B-grade talent, and the crimson true energy in his true Yuan Sea was at 70%. As the blood spring poured in, the sea churned, and the goo insects scurried to the bottom. His talent slowly increased. 71, 72, 77%. When the true essence sea reached 77%, the blood spring vanished. Only 7 points better, Ming murmured, rubbing his chin. The higher you go, the harder it is to improve. There aren't many people left in the Clear Sky sect. Hopefully, after absorbing them all, I can reach first-class talent. He put the blood skull goo back in its hollow, then tilted his head, listening. As a ray of true energy surged, his right ear grew slightly. This was the reward for reaching 30% performance level, a 3rd-level goo insect, the tailwind ear goo. It could detect movement within a kilometer, a perfect scout. After confirming that the area was clear, Ming stopped using it. I've got 77% crimson true energy, but a 3rd-level goo insect is still pushing it. I've got to improve my skills ASAP. His escape had been hasty, and Ming had only glanced at the reward for reaching 40% performance. Now that he had the time, he took another look. Master Liandao has reached 40% performance level. Reward: 1 soul tempering at Danghun Mountain, 1 spiritual spring initiation, 50,000 yuan stones, a 3rd turn goo insect, treasure moon goo, and a 3rd turn goo insect, wind and moon wheel. 1 poison. I've already experienced the spiritual spring initiation. It tempers your body and improves your strength. Danghun Mountain. Ming's breathing quickened. Danghun Mountain produced courage goo, which could strengthen a person's soul. He needed that badly, so this reward was perfect. System, give me the reward. Ding, the yuan stones have been deposited in the system storage space, and the goo worms are being distributed. 2 goo worms appeared, and Ming reached out, channeling true essence to refine them instantly. The treasure moon goo was thumb-sized, like a flat moon, giving off a faint moonlight. This was an auxiliary moon road goo worm, like the Xiaoguang goo but much more powerful, boosting all moon road goo worms by 3 times. Even better, it could combine with Yu Nishang to form the 4th turn treasure moon Nishang goo. Above that was the 5th turn treasure moon Guangwang goo. After refining, the treasure moon goo flew behind Yi Ming's head and hid. He looked at the wind and moon will goo, and a smile crossed his face. The wind and moon will goo was a mobile goo worm. After refining, it burrowed into the soles of his feet and hid. There are so many cool goo worms. I've got attack, defense, detection, and movement goo worms, and system storage. I just need healing goo worms, then I'll have a complete set. The Star Do Forest has tons of resources. Besides getting my 3rd spirit ring, I need to find a way to train a healing goo worm. Ding, the spiritual spring initiation is starting. Yi Ming was thinking when the scene changed. The same spiritual spring waterfall appeared, and he jumped onto the stone platform below. Just like before, the spiritual spring rushed down, strengthening his body. His physique and strength were steadily improving. At the same time, a trace of deep red true essence formed in the crimson true essence inside him. Time passed, and when the waterfall stopped, Yi Ming felt much stronger. His skill also climbed to the 2nd level high level. Back in the cave, Yi Ming grinned. He hadn't forgotten the red iron relic goo in the empty cavity, but first, he had to see what the soul tempering at Danghun Mountain was like. Just then, the system spoke. Ding, the soul tempering at Danghun Mountain is starting. Chapter 36 Courage Goo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wuhuan City, inside the Pope's Hall, Bibi Dong sat on the Pope's throne, listening to Yu Guang and Gue Mei's reports. A flicker of coldness crossed her elegant face. Humph, so the Haotian sect, after all these years, still has a bunch of titled Douluo kicking around. She chuckled, addressing the 2 below. Good work. You 2 will lead the soul-hunting mission into the Star Do Great Forest and bag that damned rabbit. I expect you'll return in triumph. And when you do, we might just add 2 more elders to the worship hall, bumping us up to 9. Yu Guan and Gue Mei exchanged glances, their breath catching slightly. With Bibi Dong calling the shots at Wuhuan Hall, she could absolutely make that happen. The 2 bowed their heads and saluted. Yu Guan, Gue Mei, at your command, your majesty. Ding, soul forging at Danghun Mountain is now open. The scene before Yi Ming's eyes shifted, and in an instant, he was standing on a craggy mountain. The mountain rose hundreds of meters, constantly emitting a strange vibration. This vibration attacked the soul, lethal to all living things. The instant Yi Ming appeared on the mountain, the vibrations hit him. Ugh, that he felt like he'd been smacked in the head with a sledgehammer, stars exploding in his vision. He took a few breaths, recovering. Yi Ming realized he was at the base of the mountain, and started climbing, pushing against the vibrations. After a bit, he glanced down at his feet, his eyes widening. Already found a gallstone. The gallstones grew directly from the rock, looking like human galls, all mottled colors. If you didn't pay close attention, you'd mistake them for ordinary stones. Yi Ming crouched, the dark golden clear sky hammer materialized in his right hand. He tapped lightly, splitting the gallstone open. As the gallstone cracked, a goo flew out, a gray blur, and burrowed into his body. Yi Ming felt his mind sharpen, a fresh surge of energy flowed into his soul, even dulling the mountain's soul-shaking effect. The mountain's vibrations broke down souls, forming gallstones over time. Yi Ming, experienced as he was, scanned the mountainside. Gallstones were everywhere. Only some of these stones contained gallstone goo that could strengthen the soul. Too bad that this gallstone goo disappears in the blink of an eye. Otherwise, I'd stuff the system space with them. Ever since he snagged that moon orchid, he'd been thinking about stockpiling useful stuff in his system space. Unfortunately, he usually ran out of time, or it was simply impossible. Yi Ming felt energized, like a gold prospector, striking and hammering at Danghun Mountain, hunting for gallstone goo to fortify his soul. In a matter of moments, he'd absorbed 18 more goo. Of course, you couldn't just blindly boost your soul with gallstone goo. If the soul wasn't strong enough, too much goo would bloat it to a dangerous level, a one-way trip to disaster. When the soul expanded past its limits, it would just blow up with a bang, and be gone forever. However, Ming was a transmigrator, his soul far more resilient than average. After countless trials, it was now incredibly solid. At this point, he could probably handle 100 gallstone goo, raising his soul to the level of 100 people without any issues. A strong soul foundation meant better poison refining and easier enslavement of spirit beasts. At least for Ming, Tang San's purple demon eyes mental attack wouldn't be much of a concern anymore. 96, 97, 100. Ah, sweet. Ming smashed the last gallstone, murmuring contentedly. Right now, he felt fantastic, as if floating on clouds. This soul-deep comfort was more alluring and refreshing than any pleasure from a brothel. His soul foundation was now exponentially stronger than when he'd started. With his soul reinforced, thinking and multitasking felt effortless. Looking at the remaining gallstones at his feet, Ming heard a tempting voice in his head. One more. Just one last one. This feels so good, let's do it again. But Ming knew that just one more gallstone goo would overload his soul and shatter it. Desire, unchecked, would drag him into the abyss. He dismissed the clear sky hammer martial soul without hesitation, his eyes clear and calm. I've now reached the soul of 100 people. If I want to improve further, I need to solidify my soul again. If I can find a soul-condensing goo in the future, or take a trip to Fallen Valley for some fresh air, that should be enough. As Ming was thinking, the scene before him warped again. In a blink, he was back in the cave. After so many shifts, Ming had grown used to it. With his strengthened soul, his control over his own power was much improved. Now that his cultivation had reached the advanced stage of the second rank, it was the perfect time to use the red iron relic goo. Otherwise, if he waited until his cultivation peaked at the second rank, the red iron relic goo would be wasted. Ming focused his mind, and with a thought, the red iron relic goo, still hovering above his sea of true essence, detonated, turning into a surge of concentrated true essence, flooding his sea of energy. A thread of dark red essence emerged in the originally deep red sea of true essence. Over time, the true essence in the entire sea began to change. A day passed in silence, and Ming quietly opened his eyes in the cave. The true essence in his body had now completely transformed into dark red true essence. After a month in Douluo Continent, he'd become a peak second-rank goo master. His soul power had also reached level 30. Ming still had 2 drops of Millennium Holy Soul liquid he hadn't used. Now that his goo master cultivation had leaped several levels, his soul power was sure to get a massive boost. He had a feeling that acquiring his third soul ring would trigger an explosive surge in his soul power. At this rate, a god-tier reward might be within reach. Back in the main world, he could compete in the all-races arena. He exhaled a breath of stale air, temporarily shelving those thoughts, and carefully inventoried his goo. First rank, Black Pig Goo. Second rank, Water Cover Goo, Shadow Follower Goo, Hidden Scale Goo, White Jade Goo. For flavors Wine Worm, Moon Ray Goo, Moon Colorful Clothes. Third rank, Thunderwing Goo, Tianyuan Treasure Lotus Goo, Wind Ear Goo, Treasure Moon Goo, Wind Moon Will Goo. Fourth rank, Blood Skull Goo. I might have a lot of goo now, but I'm not familiar with how to use some of them. Ming stroked his chin, musing, in a life-or-death fight, any mistake could be fatal. This trip to the Star Do Great Forest won't just be for soul rings and joint training materials. I need to get proficient with these goo. Humans were the rulers of creation, and goo was the essence of the universe. Even the fiercest beasts were no match for the human heart. Having made up his mind, Ming prepared to leave the cave and find a suitable soul beast for his third soul ring. Yu Guan and Gui may have probably returned to Wuhuan City already, so the soul hunting operation would be starting any day now. He needed to move fast and boost his strength as much as possible. The Douluo Continent was about to get really turbulent. Without enough power, you wouldn't even be in the running for any spoils. Just then, Ming thought he heard a voice outside. He quickly activated his wind ear goo, and a voice clearly echoed in his ears. Yiran, looks like there's a cave here. Let's go rest for a bit and wait for your grandpa. Chapter 37 Taking Advantage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Still, Ming's heart sank. Could it be Meng Yiran? He wondered. Her grandfather, Duke Long Meng Shu, and her grandmother, Snake Lady Chao Tianxiang, were definitely not pushovers. Those two were always attached at the hip. They couldn't be too far apart, definitely avoid a fight with them. Ming cautiously approached the cave entrance, pushed aside the boulder, and peered out. Standing outside was a young woman with short hair and an elegant vibe, wearing a form-fitting blue dress. She was helping a frail, stooped old woman in her 60s or 70s, who was leaning on a snake staff. The sight confirmed his suspicions. It was Snake Lady Chao Tianxiang and Meng Yiran. "Who's out there?" He called out warily to the pair in the distance. Chao Tianxiang and Meng Yiran stiffened at the sound, but seeing a young guy who looked maybe 17 or 18 standing in the cave entrance, they relaxed. What kind of threat could he possibly pose? Chao Tianxiang snorted, then tapped her snake staff lightly on the ground. 6 soul rings, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, and black, rose from her feet, illuminating her power. "Who are you? Which school are you from?" She glared at Ming. "What are you doing here all alone?" "Wow, a soul emperor." Ming plastered a look of surprise on his face, then replied respectfully, "My lady soul emperor, I'm a disciple of the Clear Sky School. The elders brought us here to hunt for soul rings. But I got separated from them during a soul beast attack. Now I'm trying to find them." Chao Tianxiang had been dismissive, but the mention of the Clear Sky School wiped the smirk off her face. Even a fated power like the Clear Sky School was a force to be reckoned with. She knew all about the Clear Sky School's reputation as the strongest attacking school. Even if she and Meng Shu teamed up, they could probably tangle with a titled Douluo, but the Clear Sky School had been laying low for years, and they definitely didn't want to start a fight. Hearing there were Clear Sky School elders nearby, she dropped the attitude and tried to play it cool. Still, Chao Tianxiang probed, "You say you're a Clear Sky School disciple? Got any proof?" Ming knew he had no choice but to show off his skills. Even if his soul ring made him look like a weirdo, he had to play the hand he was dealt. He just wanted to get out of here ASAP. Chao Tianxiang and Meng Shu weren't exactly known for playing nice. He could probably handle Chao Tianxiang, but if Meng Shu showed up, he'd be in trouble. Ming extended his right hand, and the dark golden clear sky hammer materialized in his grip. At the same time, 2 purple soul rings floated up from his feet, circling around him. Will this clear sky hammer do as proof? He held the clear sky hammer high, a touch of pride appearing on his face at just the right moment. Chao Tianxiang knew the clear sky hammer when she saw it. That settled it. Seeing Ming's 2,000-year soul rings only confirmed what she suspected. This had to be a top disciple from the Clear Sky School. Only those 3 schools could crank out freaks like him who were turning the Soul Master world on its head. She'd seen Tang San's 4th soul ring, which was a 10,000-year soul ring. Seeing this special case, she was surprised, but she was willing to accept it. "Sure does," Chao Tianxiang said with a smile. "I've always been a big admirer of the Clear Sky School. I'm Chao Tianxiang. If you run into your elders, put in a good word for me, okay?" Ming lowered the clear sky hammer, a smile plastered on his face. "You're too kind, Lady Chao Tianxiang. When I catch up with them, I'll definitely let them know. I'm in a hurry to find my group. I'll pay you my respects next time." He bowed to Chao Tianxiang, grinned at Meng Yiran, and strolled off toward the distant hills, acting like he didn't have a care in the world. As she watched him go, Chao Tianxiang turned to Meng Yiran, impressed. "That Clear Sky School? That's the Clear Sky School. Only level 30 soul power, but his first 2 soul rings are both over 1,000 years old. The kid's a freak." Meng Yiran watched the handsome figure walking away, then pouted. "Grandma, I'm strong too. It's only been 5 years, and I'm a soul king now, after getting my 5th soul ring. Besides, so what if his first 2 rings are 1,000 years? He's not Tang San." Meng Yiran blushed slightly as she spoke, murmuring, "I wonder how Tang San's doing now." Chao Tianxiang sighed, shaking her head at her granddaughter. "You're plenty great. But it's been so long, and you're still hung up on that Tang San." Once Ming was out of sight, he took off towards Star Do Forest, not looking back. The outer area was mostly low-level soul beasts, 100-year and 1000-year types that wouldn't do much to improve his combat skills. He was looking for the mixed circle, where 1000-year beasts were common, and even 10,000-year monsters roamed. That was where he needed to be. The Star Do Forest was huge. It took Yiming 5 days of travel to reach the mixed circle. As soon as he entered the zone, he felt the difference. The forest air was heavy with a chilling feeling. Activating his Shunfeng Year Gu, he listened carefully to everything within a kilometer. Soon, he turned to his left, surprised. Didn't expect to find a soul beast so fast. Hope it's a good fit for my third soul ring. That the wind and moon will appear beneath his feet, and his speed exploded, closing 100 meters in the blink of an eye. A few breaths later, he reached the source of the sound. Pushing aside the chest-high blue-silver grass, he saw an ant-like soul beast, about 2 meters long, gnawing on the corpse of a ghost leopard. The ant was covered in dark golden armor, with 6 powerful legs and 6 dark green eyes on top of its head. 1,000 June ant. That Yiming's eyes lit up. This 1,000 June ant was a good size. Its cultivation was likely between 13,000 and 15,000 years. Given his current strength, he should be able to absorb its soul ring. The 1,000 June ant was known for its raw power, and he was eager to test his own strength and endurance. Yiming channeled the Moon Mang Gu, and 2 palm-sized dark blue moon blades shot through space, slashing into the 1,000 June ant's right front leg. Asterisk clang, star. The sound of metal on metal echoed as the moon blade tore a chunk out of the 1,000 June ant's leg. If it wasn't for its tough hide, the blade would have cut the leg clean off. As it was, only a few bone fragments were holding the leg together, and blood was gushing out. Chi-ji! The 1,000 June ant shrieked in pain. Its 6 eyes zeroed in on Yiming as he stepped out of the bushes. It lunged at him, jaws snapping, trying to bite him in half. Even with a mangled leg, the 1,000 June ant was surprisingly fast, rushing him with everything it had. Yiming was caught off guard by the speed, but he wasn't about to just stand there and take it. He'd held back for too long in the clear sky school. Now, it was time to cut loose and show what he was made of. Yiming channeled his inner energy, activating a 3rd-level Gu. Chapter 38. Absorbing the Third Soul Ring. A soul beast that comes to your door. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Third turn Thunder Wing Gu. Suddenly, 2 dark blue wings burst from Yiming's back. They crackled with electricity, a dazzling sight. He gave himself a shake and soared into the air, dodging the 1,000-pound ant's attack. Chi-ji! That the ant's 6 small eyes swiveled, confused. This third-turn flying Gu insect was lightning fast, but it was burning through his true energy. Seizing the moment, Yiming zipped behind the 1,000-pound ant in its armored shell and started throwing punches. Bang, bang! His iron fists hammered into the ant, spiderwebbing cracks across its back armor. The combined power of the white pig Gu and black pig Gu, plus his constant training, had pushed his strength to a freakish level. He could now crack the 1,000-pound ant's super tough shell with just his bare hands. The ant writhed, trying to shake him off, but a flash of lightning, and the thunder wing slammed into it. Bang! He landed another punch, and the phantom of a tusked boar flickered behind him. Beast power projection. It only happened when the insect force was pushed to the extreme. This punch, charged with beast power projection, slammed through the ant's shell and connected with its body. Chi-ji! The 1,000-pound ant shrieked, the pain driving it nuts as it thrashed on the ground. These ancient soul beasts weren't dumb. Rolling around, it saw Yiming in the air, clearly out of its reach. Its eyes darted around, and it started digging into the dirt with its massive mandibles, trying to burrow underground and escape. No way was Yiming letting that happen. He hadn't even finished calibrating his Gu worm yet. The dark gold clear sky hammer materialized in his hand, and he slammed it down in front of the digging ant. Bang! The hammer blasted a crater in the ground, sending the ant flying. Dazed, it just lay there. Yiming had a whole arsenal of killer moves in his head. If he wanted to, he could have taken out this ant in seconds, but he was using the 1,000-pound ant to test his Gu worm and polish his skills. For a while, Yiming used the 1,000-pound ant as his training dummy. Finally, the 1,000-pound ant gave up. Now it was just a punching bag. He raised his hand, the blade flashed, and its head was gone. As the 1,000-pound ant's life faded, a ring of black light floated up from its corpse. Pulsing in the air, Ming activated the Windeering Goo. To scan the surrounding area for miles, ancient soul beasts were territorial. The Qianjun ant's energy lingered, and no other beasts dared to enter its domain. He wasted no time, summoning the Clear Sky Hammer Martial Soul and tapping the Black Soul Ring. Instantly, soul power surged from the ring into the Clear Sky Hammer and then into his body. Along with the power came the Qianjun ant's resentment, wanting to destroy him, but his true essence vibrated, instantly suppressing the soul power and absorbing it. At the same time, the Qianjun ant's soul phantom appeared. In his mind, trying to crush his soul, besides raw power, the trick to absorbing an ancient soul ring was surviving the soul impact the beast unleashed after death. Fail, and you could end up brain dead. Or just plain dead. This Qianjun ant was pissed, and its soul was packed with hate, determined to shatter his mind. Suddenly, Ming's 100-man soul manifested before the Qianjun ant. The Qianjun ant looked at the soul, 100 times larger than its own, and lost hope. You couldn't beat me alive, and you think you can win now? Ming raised his massive soul hand and crushed the Qianjun ant's soul in one slap, then swallowed it whole. With the Qianjun ant's soul gone, he successfully absorbed the ancient soul ring. 2 purple soul rings rose under his feet, and instantly, a third, black ring solidified. The bottleneck that had been holding him back finally shattered. According to Gongzi's theories, when a soul master hits a wall, their soul power keeps building up until they get a soul ring. Ming had used that drop of holy soul liquid to hit level 30, but he hadn't been able to absorb its full potential. Since then, his Goo Master cultivation level had jumped up several levels. The special rules of this world boosted his soul master level as well, plus, his soul rings were far older than average. The feedback was insane. And all that power had been stockpiling. Absorbing the third soul ring was the trigger, and all that pent-up power exploded. Level 32, Level 34, Level 37. Level 40. In a heartbeat, he hit Level 40. Ming opened his eyes, a glint of light shining in his calm gaze. He stood up, looked around, and then walked deeper into the forest. He had been expecting this breakthrough. He could feel that he had almost exhausted his energy reserves. If the fourth soul ring was 20,000 to 30,000 years old, it might boost him 3 or 4 levels, but that would be it. Still, I have 2 more drops of holy soul liquid. Let's make a run for Soul King. Ming was confident. He couldn't wait to see Tang San again. Roar! A roar echoed through the forest. A gorilla with dark fur and bulging muscles charged towards him. Ming's eyes locked on the gorilla's fangs, glowing green. Venomous fanged orangutan. A soul beast famous for its poison and raw power. Ming pegged it as at least 20,000 to 30,000 years old. Just need the 4th soul ring, huh? And you show up on my doorstep. He had a bad feeling about this, but the venomous fanged orangutan was already barreling towards him. Time to test my new soul skill. The Clear Sky Hammer materialized, and the 3rd black ring pulsed with dark light. 3rd soul skill, 1,000-pound breaking attack. Chapter 39 Depressed Meng Yiran. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ming eyed the soul beast barreling toward him and slammed his Clear Sky Hammer into the ground. The earth beneath him erupted, sending a shockwave outward in a 100-meter radius. The moment the fanged gorilla caught the brunt of the blast, it reeled, disoriented. Then, the ground buckled and slammed into it. Roar! With a miserable screech, it collapsed and died. Something's off. Ming frowned, muttering to himself, no matter how powerful my soul skills are, there's no way I could take down a 10,000-year soul beast in one hit. He approached the gorilla's corpse and realized what had happened. A deep, half-meter-long wound pierced its back, exposing bone. He'd lucked into someone else's kill. Seeing the black soul ring materialize above the fanged gorilla, he tapped it with the Clear Sky Hammer. The ring merged into his martial soul, releasing a surge of power within him. In an instant, Ming absorbed the soul ring. 4 vibrant soul rings, 2 purple and 2 black, now orbited him, and he felt a slight surge in his soul power. The level increase was about what he'd expected, bringing him to level 45 but falling short of the level 50 bottleneck. Ming wasn't discouraged. He still had 2 drops of the 1,000-year holy soul liquid waiting. Glancing at the poisonous fanged gorilla's corpse at his feet, Ming urged the wind and moon will poisonous insect onward, heading deeper into the forest. He wasn't about to feel guilty for poaching a kill. Besides, he suspected that Chao Tianxiang had this poisonous Fang gorilla lined up for her granddaughter. To avoid getting tangled up with Chao Tianxiang and Meng Shu's martial soul fusion skill, Ming decided to lay low for a while. His power was skyrocketing, but he didn't have time to waste dealing with them. A few minutes later, Chao Tianxiang and Meng Yiran arrived. Seeing the soul beast's corpse, they were both disappointed. The soul ring created by a soul beast can only be absorbed by the person who delivered the finishing blow. When the beast slipped away, Meng Yiran didn't land the final strike. Ugh, this beast. Even in death, it's denying me the soul ring. Meng Yiran pouted, kicking the fanged gorilla hard. The poison from this 10,000-year soul beast was incredible. Based on her martial soul, she'd inherit the poison's traits, boosting her power significantly, but who knew it would die after they chased it for so long? Wait. Chao Tianxiang frowned, scanning the area. There are signs of a fight. And this soul beast died recently. The soul ring shouldn't have dissipated yet. But it's gone. Meng Yiran caught on instantly, looking at Chao Tianxiang in surprise. Grandma, are you saying someone intercepted and killed this soul beast, and absorbed the soul ring, all in the last few minutes? That she was stunned. We only lost sight of it for 15 minutes, tops. Who's the jerk who stole my soul beast? If I find them, they're going to regret it. Chao Tianxiang sighed. The soul ring was gone, and the culprit was long gone too. There was no point in dwelling on it. Yiran, let's go find your grandfather and see what he's managed to snag. Chao Tianxiang led Meng Yiran towards the depths of the forest. They headed in the same direction Ming had taken. Half an hour after they left, a group of 10 soul masters appeared. The leader had a scarred face and only one eye. Beside him was a flamboyant man, his face coated in white powder, both alluring and repulsive. The flamboyant man spotted the fanged gorilla and quickly approached, sinking his teeth into its neck and sucking. He licked the crimson from his lips, frowning. Too bad it's congealed a little. It's not as enticing as a Bloody Mary back in Slaughter City. But there are soul masters around. This time is going to be fun. The others licked their lips, their eyes burning with bloodlust. A short, 1.5 meter tall man emerged from behind the one-eyed leader, sniffing the air. 3 people have been here. 2 women, 1 man. Judging by the scent, one woman is around 25, and the other is an old lady in her 60s. The short man turned to the one-eyed man, eager. Boss, should we put off hunting soul beasts? Let's grab the younger woman first, he. The one-eyed man chuckled, scratching his crotch suggestively. Is that even a question? I'll take the young one first. I haven't tasted a woman since I crawled out of Slaughter City. Alright, boss. Don't waste the old one, I wouldn't mind taking a shot at her myself, he. That they exchanged glances and followed the trail. In the Star Do Great Forest, Tang San's heart was pounding with anticipation. After leaving the Haotian sect, he'd returned to Shrek Academy to honor his 5-year promise to Dai Mubai and the others. After a brief reunion, he'd immediately set out for the Star Do Great Forest. 5 years had passed. How had Xiao Wu changed? Even if Xiao Wu was a soul beast, so what? He was beyond eager, filled with the urge to hold her in his arms right away. As soon as he entered the Star Do Great Forest, he hurried towards the boundary between the outer zone and the mixed zone. Even Tang San grew cautious. This area marked the transition between 1,000-year and 10,000-year soul beasts, and venturing deeper meant facing 10,000-year threats. Against those beasts, the Killing God domain's power would be greatly reduced, so caution was key. Tang San activated the blue-silver domain, and the blue-silver grass around him issued a warning. He grew alert, expanding the domain's range. Everything seemed normal within 500 meters, but he sensed a warning signal from the south. Focusing his mental power, he extended his exploration in that direction. When the blue-silver domain reached its limit of 1,500 meters, Tang San saw something that sent a chill down his spine. A group of over 20 people were moving silently through the woods, heading towards him. he recognized the leader immediately, Zhu Douluo, Yuguan, from the spirit hall. Behind Yuguan, Hulayina, Xiaoyu, and Yen followed closely. Behind them were 20 spirit hall elites, each stronger than Hulayina and the others. Bringing up the rear was Ghost Douluo, Ghost. Such a powerful group wasn't here to hunt soul rings for some team, their true target was clear, Xiao Wu. Tang San felt a surge of panic. Chapter 40. A hero saves a beauty. Just relying on your meager beauty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Now that Ming had the third turn Tianyuan Baoyan inside him, along with plenty of true essence, using the third turn Gu Worm was far easier, thanks to the Fengyue wheel's incredible speed. He covered dozens of miles in under half an hour. He suspected the venomous gorilla might be Meng Yiran's target. Meng Yiran's martial soul, inherited from the Kaoxiangxiang snake staff, meant she was skilled with poisons. The venomous gorilla was also a soul beast that used poison. Age aside, it seemed like a good fit for her, but Meng Yiran wasn't as physically strong as him. If she used this soul beast for her 6th soul ring, she'd be fine. But if she tried for a 5th, it'd probably kill her. Thinking this, Ming figured he might be about to save her life. He shook his head, pushing the thought away. The valley ahead looked like a decent place to recover. He was currently at soul power level 45. Using 2 drops of the Millennium Holy Soul liquid might just get him to level 50. Entering the valley, Ming searched until he found a cave under the deepest cliff. It looked like it might have housed soul beasts in the past, but there were no recent signs of activity. He concealed the entrance with dead grass, sat cross-legged inside, and used the Windeer Gu to check for any nearby movement. Reassured, he finally relaxed. He took out the jade bottle containing the Millennium Holy Soul liquid from his system space. Tilting it, a thumb-sized, green droplet slid into his palm. Sensing the intense soul power radiating from the droplet, Ming didn't hesitate. He tossed it into his mouth. The droplet transformed into a surge of soul power, flowing through his entire body. He closed his eyes, focusing all his energy on absorbing the immense power. As night fell, Ming finally absorbed the first drop of Millennium Holy Soul liquid. Level 48. Only 3 levels. Time for the last drop. After another scan with the Windeer Gu confirmed it was safe, Ming swallowed the remaining drop of Millennium Holy Soul liquid. Another burst of soul power erupted inside him, and Ming plunged back into cultivation. Time passed, and a day later, Ming completely absorbed the soul power. He snapped his eyes open, unleashing a terrifying aura. Level 50. Just one more soul ring and I'll break through to Soul King, completing the unique Samsara Secret Realm task. Thrilled with his progress, Ming let the feeling wash over him. After adjusting to his increased strength, he stroked his chin, thinking. Yuguan and the others have probably entered the Star Do Great Forest by now, and Tang San should be here too. According to the timeline, the 7 Treasures Glazed Tiles sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex sect should have been destroyed. Next up is Xiao Wu's sacrifice. Even though my physique is strong, I still can't absorb a soul ring older than 70,000 years. And 100,000-year soul beast soul ring can only be obtained through sacrifice. A plan began to form in Ming's mind. He chuckled. There are other ways to get 100,000-year soul ring. I don't have to rely on this one chance. Right now, I need to find Tang San. As Ming plotted, he heard a sound outside. Activating the Windeer Gu, he instantly heard a distressed female voice. A cry like an oriole reached him. Help. Don't come any closer. Please. He frowned. Are Meng Yiran and Chao Tianxiang still following me? I thought I'd lost them. They're in trouble, and it looks like that Dragon Lord Meng Shu isn't around. Sensing Meng Yiran approaching, he knew his hiding spot was about to be compromised. After a moment's thought, he moved the dry grass and stepped out of the cave. He saw Meng Yiran, her clothes torn, shoulders and thighs exposed, sitting on the ground, breathing hard, her face filled with terror. A one-eyed man leered at her, eyes full of lust, advancing slowly. Little beauty, just give in. I promise you'll enjoy it. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that pretty face of yours won't get messed up. The one-eyed man grabbed his crotch, grinned, and kept walking toward her. in the distance, Chao Tianxiang was fighting 9 opponents, looking increasingly desperate. Each of the 9 was a 5-ring soul king. A effeminate guy and a dwarf stood out, both 6-ring soul emperors. If they hadn't been toying with her, Chao Tianxiang would have been captured already. The moment Ming appeared, everyone's attention shifted to him. The one-eyed man frowned, looking Ming up and down. Seeing a boy who looked 17 or 18, he dismissed him. His blood was up, and he waved a dismissive hand at Ming. "Kid, don't interrupt. I'm in a good mood. I don't want to kill you, so scram." That his 7 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black, pulsed rhythmically, radiating an evil aura. Seeing Meng Yiran's eyes briefly lit up with hope, but remembering that he only had the strength of a 2nd ring, her face fell. Driven by a desperate will to live, she pleaded for help. "Save me," that she hoped to hold out long enough for her grandfather to arrive. As for Ming's safety, if she could survive, she didn't care what happened to him. Desperate, she retreated, her clothes tearing. A glimpse of bare skin flashed, exciting the one-eyed man even more. She looked at Ming, begging him with her eyes, "Save me, please." The one-eyed man watched this scene with interest. His time in the city of slaughter had twisted his mind. He was eager to see what would happen next, but Ming's next move surprised him. Under everyone's gaze, Ming took a step back. "Save you? Why would I do that? Because you're a pretty face? Or do you think I'm some kind of hero?" That Ming looked down at Meng Yiran with cold detachment. Meng Yiran stared up at him, stunned. Ming sneered, glancing at the one-eyed man. "Carry on. I won't interfere. I'm bored anyway. I'll just watch the show." The one-eyed man was momentarily speechless, then burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha. Good kid. You're more like an evil soul master than I am. Too bad the slaughter city's gone, you'd have a blast there." That after a few laughs, he addressed Ming with admiration. "Stick around after I'm done, we can talk. I like your style." That Ming crossed his arms, watching the scene unfold. Just then, a system notification popped up in his mind like the sound of a beautiful song. Ding, Refining Dao Master Role-Playing Degree reached 45%. Reward, thanks for your support. I'm testing the waters. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ors. There will be another round of decisive battles next Tuesday. I beg you to read it then. Ors.